Most of us use GD&T literally every single day. We slap some symbols on a drawing, toss it over the wall to manufacturing, and, well, kind of cross our fingers, right? But here's the cold hard truth I've learned from over 15 years in automotive design. A shocking number of engineers actually fail when it comes to interpreting real complex drawings. And what does that mean? Rejected parts, endless supplier arguments, and massive production delays. So today, we're putting your knowledge to the ultimate test with a rigorous ASME Y14.5 certification challenge. We've got 4 escalating levels of difficulty, all pulled straight from the 2018 standard. I really want you to treat this like the actual exam. I'm going to throw a pause challenge at you for every single question. You'll pause this explainer, lock in your answer, and we'll see if you actually pass.
All right, let's dive right in with Level 1. It's a fundamental boundary question. Question 1. According to ASME Y14.5 Rule Number 2, what is the default condition for geometric tolerance values if absolutely no modifier is applied? Is it A, maximum material condition, B, least material condition, C, regardless of feature size, or D, regardless of material boundary? Okay, here's your first pause challenge. Hit pause on the explainer right now, lock in that answer. You've got 5 seconds.
And we're back. So if you went with C, regardless of feature size, man, excellent work. You just successfully cleared the very first hurdle. Let's actually break down why this is the absolute bedrock of modern GD&T interpretation.
Now you really got to pay attention to the critical distinction in Rule 2 defaults. Section 5.9.1 of the standard lays out 2 very distinct defaults that folks constantly mix up. Seriously, all the time. For geometric tolerance values, the default is RFS. That means the tolerance applies at any increment of size of the unrelated actual mating envelope unless you explicitly slap an MMC or LMC modifier on there. But look at that second piece. For datum feature references, the default is RMB, or regardless of material boundary. Let's put this in practical shop floor terms. If you're machining a standard alignment pen on an engine block and there's no modifier in that feature control frame, you don't get any magical bonus tolerance just because the pin was made a little smaller. Nope, you get exactly what is printed on that drawing, nothing more.
Okay, let's step things up a notch to Level 2, intermediate territory. We're moving past basic symbols and getting into datum reference frames. Question 2. What is the theoretically perfect boundary used to establish a datum from a specified datum feature? Is it A, a physical datum feature simulator, B, the actual mating envelope, C, the true geometric counterpart, or D, virtual condition? All right, you know the drill. Hit pause and lock in that answer.
Let's see how you did. The correct answer is C, true geometric counterpart. Now, the fundamental distinction here is really a battle between pure theory and actual shop floor reality. If you chose A, well, don't beat yourself up, but you definitely fell right into a classic trap. Here's the deal. Section 3.66 of the ASME standard explicitly defines the true geometric counterpart as this completely theoretically perfect boundary. And it specifically notes that this term applies strictly to datums. Now, out in the real world, sure, we use physical datum feature simulators. We're talking inspection gauges, precision machine tables, maybe a giant granite surface plate to check our automotive components. But remember, all those physical things, they have tiny, microscopic imperfections. The mathematical principles of the standard, the very rules governing your design limits, those are based solely on that flawless, theoretical true geometric counterpart. All right, take a deep breath because we're pushing into Level 3, Advanced Tolerancing. You absolutely need a solid grasp of material conditions for this one. Question 3. When applying a zero geometric tolerance on an LMC basis using the surface method, what boundary must the feature's surface not violate? Your options are A, outer boundary, B, virtual condition equal to LMC size, C, maximum material boundary, or D, unrelated actual mating envelope. Whew, this is a tough one for sure. Go ahead, pause the explainer and really test yourself. Okay, moment of truth. The correct answer is B, the virtual condition equal to the LMS size. Honestly, if you nailed this one, you are doing incredibly well. This very specific application, zero tolerance at LMS, is literally the exact spot where I see even seasoned design engineers completely trip up during their formal certification exams. So let's talk about the so what here, exactly as it's outlined in Section 5.9.7.1. When you drop a zero geometric tolerance on an LMC basis, you are giving the guy making the part absolutely zero wiggle room if they produce that feature right at the least material condition limit. None. But, and here's the kicker, if that manufactured feature departs from LMC, let's say a hole gets smaller and starts creeping toward MMC, suddenly you gained additional geometric variation. The permissible variation actually reaches its absolute maximum when the feature hits maximum material condition with perfect form. It's like casting an intake manifold. You use this technique to strictly guarantee your minimum wall thicknesses while simultaneously giving the foundry the maximum possible manufacturing tolerance as that wall gets thicker. It's a total game changer when used correctly.
And just like that, we have arrived at level 4, expert level. This right here is where we separate the textbook readers from the real-world problem solvers. It is time for our engineering challenge. So picture this. You're on a very tense video call with a frustrated supplier. They are holding a complex, expensive automotive bracket. The holes, they measure perfectly within their size tolerances, but your quality control team just red-tagged and rejected the entire batch during the CMM inspection. Yikes. Let's dig into the specifics of this failure.
All right, here is the exact scenario. You've got a complex feature pattern utilizing a composite profile feature control frame. The inspection report comes back and shows that the Feature Relating Tolerance Zone Framework, or FRTZEF if you prefer, is completely free to rotate and translate relative to the datums. Why on earth is this happening? Is it A, datum feature references are not specified in a lower segment? B, the PLTZEF always rotates freely? C, lower segment datums only constrain translation? Or D, basic dimensions are incorrect? Take your time on this one. Pause the explainer, think it through, and lock in your expert answer.
All right, let's break the suspense. The answer is A. The datum feature references are missing in the lower segment of that composite feature control frame. Plot twist, the supplier didn't actually mess up the part. Your drawing mathematically allowed that entire pattern of holes to just float around.
This example brilliantly illustrates the hidden mechanics of composite tolerancing straight out of Section 11.6 of the standard. Think of it like a giant puzzle. The upper segment, the Pattern Locating Tolerance Zone Framework, that one locks the overall pattern to your part's datums. It controls the translation and rotation of the whole group. But that lower segment, the FRTZEF, that specifies a much tighter tolerance that only controls how the features relate to each other within that specific pattern. And as Section 11.6.1.3 explicitly states, when datum feature references are not specified in that lower segment, the FRTZEF is totally free to rotate and translate. So you've essentially tightly controlled the hole-to-hole spacing, but the whole cluster can just freely float and spin inside the larger upper segment tolerance zone during inspection. Mind-blowing, right?
Okay, the challenge is officially over. Take a breath. It's time to tally up your score and see how you stack up against our certification benchmark. Now, if you got 0 or 1 correct, hey, you're at the beginner level. That just means it's a great time to start reviewing the core definitions of Y14.5. If you got 2 correct, you've got a really solid, good understanding of everyday GD&T applications. But if you nailed 3 or all 4, including that absolutely brutal composite profile question, huge congratulations. You possess advanced GD&T knowledge that is incredibly valuable on any engineering floor.
So seriously, how many did you get correct? If you felt challenged by today's explainer, well, that's exactly the point. Learning the theory is one thing, but applying it to real physical components is where the actual engineering happens. In our next explainer, we are going to take this up yet another notch. We'll be testing your ability to interpret complete, incredibly dense production drawings using strict ASME rules, finding those hidden errors before they ever hit the manufacturing floor. You absolutely won't want to miss it. Until then, ask yourself this: are your production drawings leaving room for misinterpretation, or are they mathematically bulletproof? I'll see you in the next one.